Daddy eats lots. Daddy eats lots. Daddy eats lots. Munch, munch, munch.
Hello and welcome to Daddy Eats Last, where we discuss the challenges of being a man in modern society and whatever the hell that even means. I'm Kane, and joining me again today to chat man stuff are Ryan and Maddie. Firstly, gents, how was the weekend?
Good, mate. I just came home from watching the movie Crazy Rich Asians with TK, which was pretty exciting, and had a few wines there in Crown. So I might be a bit light on the tongue today, but we'll see how we go.
Excellent. Matthew, what did you get up to?
Yeah, my weekend was pretty good for the most part. Except on Saturday, I had one of those lost wallet moments. And what made things worse was the wife gave me the morning off to work on the cubby house. She took the kids up to her grandma's. But rather than work on the cubby house, I spent the morning going from shop to shop asking if anyone had handed in a grey wallet. So
You
in the end,
you didn't hand over to the wallet inspector, did you?
no, I didn't fall for that one. Just more of a, what a hassle this is going to be. Driver's license, Medicare. But yeah, in the end, I tracked myself back to Bunnings, and it was in the car park there. And luckily, there's some decent people still in the world. They've handed into the front desk, so crisis averted. But yeah, a bit of a waste of a Saturday morning, really. But
It's
my own fault.
It's always pretty distressing when you think when you've misplaced a wallet or a phone or a set of keys. I'm not sure what's more important these days, if you misplace your phone or misplace your wallet. I think both are equally as inconvenient, but I think I'd almost be more worried if my phone was misplaced in my wallet to some extent.
Yeah, you can do a lot of damage with the phone now these days, can't you? Especially if it doesn't have a pin, or like mine does, stupidly.
Not like most people don't have cash anymore, so you kind of go, well, I haven't lost a few $100s in there. I mean, some people still do, but it's more, I've got to change cards, I've got to do this. But, I mean, you can pay with your phone now. So, yeah, I don't know which would be more damaging, the phone or wallet. But if someone could break the pin to the phone, then I'm a bit worried, because that's probably, like most people, the pin to 90% of all your other things, which is scary.
We're just glad there's some good people out there, Matthew, and you managed to recover your wallet in due course. And did that mean no further work on the cubby this weekend?
No, that got nothing done this weekend, so that was a write-off. But I'll tie my wallet to my pants next weekend when I go out, and bang, we'll be back on the cubby once again.
We had the niece's first birthday today, so which, when you have a kid, is much more fun than when you used to go to first birthdays sans a kid. Because I remember going to first birthdays when the other niece turned one, and we didn't have a kid at that point of time, and you just kind of roll up and just go, you just look at your watch and just go, oh, well, when can we leave? Well, that sort of thing. But now that there's kids who can kind of run around, and you kind of outsource them for an hour or so, and there's other people to look after them, it's actually, the first birthdays aren't too bad. They're growing on me very slowly. I don't think I'll ever be totally into them, but I dislike them less.
I think you might be right there, because we've gone to a few kids' birthdays where it's kind of like you do feel a bit out of place because you don't have a kid, and all these parents are bonding over kids, and all these kids are like playing, and they're all sort of enjoying a reprieve for an hour or two and that kind of thing, and you don't really have a kid to talk about. So it is a bit, I think it'll be a lot more enjoyable when we do go to first birthdays with kids of our own and go, shoo, off you go play with other toddlers.
Well, the downside of that is your levels of intake of Bob the Builder and the Wiggles will increase dramatically. So yeah, there's an up and a down to both of those. So, and the sugar intake at a first birthday and the drive home is always fun. But it was one of those things, actually, the invitation to this actually originally came out via Facebook. So what I wanted to talk about today was social media and how you guys use social media, if you use social media. What about you guys? Do you guys use much with regards to social media?
I haven't jumped on Instagram, Snapchat, or any of those yet, but I can see the benefit of being on a few of those, especially maybe Pinterest. The wife is on that quite a bit, just for getting ideas for house renovations or things like that. But in terms of Facebook, it's more of I think just obviously communicating with your family when you've got updates. Especially because my family aren't close. It's a great way to sort of give them updates on how the kids are traveling or things like that. But then again, I don't flood our Facebook or my Facebook account with kids' photos. I'm more just put them up every 3 or 5 months, but it's more just a little comedic photo I try and throw up to just to make the family laugh or something like that. It's not by any way means I don't, every step the baby takes or the kids take, I'm not bombarding it with updates or anything like that. But I could probably jump onto a few more platforms, but can be very time consuming. the old social media.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. I think I'm actually pulling back from some platforms. I used to have Twitter a while ago, and I'd spoken an event on Thursday night, and they asked me for my Twitter handle, and I realized that I'd gotten rid of it about 9 months ago because it is very time consuming. I mean, I use LinkedIn pretty heavily from a business point of view. I use Facebook Messenger, not necessarily Facebook, but Facebook Messenger a lot. Same with you, Matt, with family being interstate. That's a really good platform to just sort of keep connected with. To be honest, I'd probably get rid of my Facebook, but I do have some business things in that on that platform that do generate a little bit of revenue. So that's the only reason that I probably haven't gotten rid of that. But I'm a fan of Instagram in terms of following things. So I really like sustainable energy and timber and property, and there's some really good photos in that, and you can learn some really good things there. But yeah, I used to be on Snapchat. I don't use that anymore. I've sort of pulled back a fair bit. Whether that's good or bad, I'm not sure yet. But LinkedIn's probably the one that I do use the most. But I do see a sort of a trend in that a lot of people are gravitating towards Instagram, which is great because you can just be visual and have pictures and that kind of thing. I wish I was a bit more engaged because I know that so many people engage over the platforms and especially content and all that kind of thing. But it's just not there yet for me, I guess.
Now, with regards to the people you connect with on any of these platforms, they traditionally people who are your friends, like real life friends versus Facebook friends or people on Instagram, or are they new connections? So are you using it to connect with more people or just existing people a different way?
Yeah, it's a good question. LinkedIn's probably a bit of both. Definitely there's new connections there that are happening for, I did speak an event at PwC on Thursday night, and I've probably gotten 20 sort of messages and follow-ups and a couple of copies and that from people that I may have spoken to briefly at the event or have never really met. So that platform's probably, I guess, 50-50 of people that I know, people that I don't. But Facebook for me definitely pulled into a private realm when I did start doing a lot more business things. So I wouldn't, and teaching at a few unis and that kind of thing, I would not accept student requests, or I wouldn't accept any requests like that. So it was very much had to know the person, and it was a family or a connection, or because it is, having lived in sort of 4 or 5 states of Australia growing up as I did, and having an extended family in all states, it's a good platform, as Matt was saying, for keeping everyone up to date with things like that. But I don't think it's a good platform for connecting with other people. But then Instagram, I follow people that I've never met and probably will never met, and just really enjoy that kind of thing. But we're probably at a stage now where it's not even those common ones that's social media. I mean, you've got the world of dating now is relatively on the internet, as opposed to old school, where you've got all the online dating, but also all the applications that you can do with that. So yeah, I think a lot of people are connecting with a lot of people that they've never met with on social media, and that is not necessarily just a bad thing, because I've heard really good stories from that.
Following on what you're saying there about online dating, Ryan, I haven't really dabbled in it myself, being married for the last 7 or 8 years, but I think it's a great thing I'm assuming it's a great thing for single people to have this online dating platform where you can cut out all the BS about, going to the old school way of going to a bar or nightclub or whatever, finding someone there. Whereas with the online dating, I guess you can sort of, find out directly what someone's likes, their interests, and straight away you can define whether or not you a potential match or something like that, rather than wasting time. So I know some people who've used GoFish or iFish or whatever. I'm not too sure what it's called, to be honest, but something like that. And they've connected straight away. They've culled all the people they didn't think they'd connect with, and they've ended up together for a year, a couple of years now. So I think it's a good thing, the online dating.
Yeah, just as long as I guess people put up what they are doing. I don't think Tinder might not be the platform for for the
Yeah,
honesty part of that.
You have to choose your platform. I think, yeah, you really have to choose the right platform to use it for what you want to use it for. And I actually have a really good example last week of somebody who maybe didn't use the right platform for something. XeroCon was up in Brisbane last week, and one of my friends was attending, and she received a LinkedIn request from somebody who was at XeroCon.
Just for everyone, what is XeroCon for those that aren't
Yes,
accountants, I suppose?
XeroCon is a fairly big accounting conference in Australia. They invite a lot of accountants to attend for this. I think it's $500 or something to attend. I'm not sure how many people they got there, but it was a few thousand. So I think this guy was putting the Triple X in XeroCon when he sent my friend a LinkedIn message which said, "You smoking hottie, let's get out of here and have some real fun."
Wow.
So I'm not sure LinkedIn is the appropriate platform for things like that. So I think you really have to choose the right platform for whatever you want to communicate or who you want to connect with. Like that would seriously be better placed on something like a Tinder or GoFish, iFish or something like that. So just, I was the same. I was speechless when she sent that through. Just a bizarre thing for a guy to do.
That is very bizarre.
Yeah, see that kind of irritates me a bit because it's like I do genuinely use LinkedIn pretty heavily and for business. The social media aspect, I mean, if you take your example, Matt, going old school and going to a bar, I mean, you probably got 3 or 4 cups of courage before you went up and said something as bold and as brass as that. But when you can hide behind a screen, I think that it's probably the reason that I've pulled back a bit, because when you can hide behind a screen, you can see a lot of people will just say anything. And genuinely, I kind of hope that she slapped him across the face if that was the case, because I think guys doing that can actually really make, I guess, we're talking about what it is to be a man in 2018 or sort of today. And I just think, honestly, that's just being a bit of a dick, but that's just my opinion, I guess.
Yeah, I was the same. I was speechless when she sent that through. She took a screenshot of the LinkedIn message because I was like, you can't be serious. I was speechless when she sent it through that somebody in this day and age would send that full stop with that sort of language and then send it through a platform which is really a professional network, not a social sort of network. But you're right, is that anonymity of being behind a screen and being able to say whatever you want without any sort of fear of retribution or being told off. Like the Serena Williams thing this morning, see people on Twitter blowing up at what she did, which I thought was a pretty reasonable turn of phrase she used towards the umpire, and was docked a game in the US Open final, and people were just lit up on Twitter saying, she's a bad example, she's a bad this, she's a bad that. Yeah, the people on the internet, on Twitter, just lost their minds about it. Some good and some bad, but it's very easy to have an opinion and voice it when there's no one pulling you up or no accountability around what you say on these platforms.
Yeah, I think that surprises me, because she is a fantastic person for, much like the New Zealand Prime Minister, how she's returned to work, and I guess in 2018 as a female returning to work or professional athleticism or whatnot, she was heralded over social media about how amazing it was what she did, but so quickly, clearly it can turn.
And the same goes for the US Open. This campaign's been terrible for public relations. I mean, John Millman, the tired of abuse he copped from losing to Djokovic or beating Federer from what predominantly looked like gamblers out there was just horrendous. Just all the keyboard warriors, like you said, Ryan, sitting behind the keyboard, just unleashing without any retribution on their behalf. Is just, it's scary what they can do and how they can have an effect on these players.
But I mean, it's not even the players. Like, if you look at social media, it's whether rightly or wrongly, and I don't know whether this is the format to necessarily debate whether it's rightly or wrongly, but you look at prime example Nike this week. It lost $6 billion based on social media backlash because of a marketing campaign that fueled by social media. So clearly, I guess in today, as opposed to 20 years ago or 30 years ago, and you have to look at like football players and the like, and how careful they have to be around the behaviours that they do and activity that they do. Even one of the reasons that I'm pulling back is because climbing into more roles with higher responsibilities, and you just don't want to be exposed because you can get so backlashed. And the reality is, it's not a thing where a couple of people get together and gossip. They can actually move markets. They can move people. I was reading, I think a week ago, one of the stars from Married at First Sight was going through mental health problems, and it was all drawn back to social media activity and backlash that she'd had from that.
My spouse, she'll be on Instagram a lot, and I'll say, "Oh, what's happening on Insta?" And she'll be like, "Oh, yeah, X or Y," and I'll be like, "Oh, how do you know that person?" She goes, "I don't." I go, "Well, why are you following her?" But I guess, like you were saying before, Ryan, it's just things which are maybe a bit inspirational. But I think there's a line between what's inspirational and rubbing people's nose in it and boasting. And there's a really good example this week of a mum who was posting online, and she was posting she'd had the kid was in with the grandparent or something, and she was posting that she was punching out some work, and she's a mummypreneur, and then she's getting her nails done, and she's ridden her bike here, and she's done this and she's done that. To me, that makes a lot of other people feel bad if they can't achieve that, inverted commas. So it's a really fine line between trying to be maybe inspirational and actually maybe doing some damage to people who are going through a rough trot at the moment and just need a little bit of support that, you know what, life isn't all peaches and cream all the time, especially when you've got a kid. Just be real on there sometimes.
Rightly or wrongly, whether it should be or shouldn't be a part of today, it is, and it's a hugely influential part of today. And I mean, going back to, I guess, having kids, like, some people are doing really well from photographing their kids. And what do you think about using social media to, I guess, capture some memories with your little fella and whatnot?
Yeah, we don't do any social media with the little fella at all. I think he's turned up in one or two pictures online, just in the background or at weddings where he's been there, but we have not proactively posted him on anything. I did use the back of his head once for a LinkedIn article and on the website, but there could be any kid's back of the head, to be honest. Parents should always have some level of control over what messages put out, around their kids, and images which are put around their kids, because as soon as it's on the social media, no, you don't own it anymore. Somebody in the US, be it Facebook or Instagram or wherever the servers are, you don't own any of that content anymore. So once your kids are up there, you're not getting them back, unfortunately. They're out there in the digital world.
Yeah, my wife, I think, as I said a bit earlier, uses the Facebook, the Instagram, Pinterest, but she's not on it constantly because there's just, not enough time in her world to be constantly updating with the three kids and a business to run as well. So I think she uses it more in a research kind of way. She obviously sends the odd Snapchat, Instagram post here and there, but yeah, I guess she sort of uses it more for good rather than, with any kind of agenda or anything. But following what you said there, Kane, about posting photos of your little son there as well, I think it's so ingrained now, social media into our everyday lives in terms of when a couple gets pregnant or they first have the baby. Generally the first words predominantly, oh, don't put that up on Facebook yet, I haven't told everyone. So it's even like a phrase these days. I mean, for our second and third kids, we even had to say to some people who are, notorious posters in our family that, don't put that up on Facebook yet, I haven't told everyone.
Well, see, my mum did this with the first niece who was born, where she jumped in before my sister had a chance to really tell a lot of people, and there was a bit of friction for a few days around that, mainly because my mum spelt the name wrong, and also because she got in before anybody who was really important had been told. And there's something a bit, I guess, old school and nostalgic and maybe romantic about the parents being the one to control the message as well.
Yeah, it's a good point that you say. I think it might have even been a conversation with you where you said, if you're not paying for the product, you are the product. And I think that's something to be mindful with social media. I think if you'd asked me 2 or 3 years ago, I would have posted, yep, I've had a kid, or yep, we're pregnant, or yeah, unlikely. And, going back to how our partners use it. So TK does not post. She has Facebook and Instagram, and does not post. She uses LinkedIn a little bit, but not really. But is always on Instagram in terms of dogs and animals. So constantly using it, but not a producer of content, I guess. But yeah, I think my thoughts have very much changed. And I guess being in that younger generation and having seen, like, when I got on Facebook and that's when it was kind of becoming cool, we were still sort of 16 and I think it was year 10 or year 11. And we sort of rode that decade of the birth of social media and Facebook and Instagram and MySpace back when that was around, and all the other things that have happened. I think I'd be very reluctant today to be doing a lot of that stuff, and I'm actually seeing that with a lot of my friends. But it's now a common phrase to go, don't put that up on Facebook, or can you not? And one of the things working in health that I have found is that social media does a lot of good in the world, but I think it can also do a lot of bad, because like I was listening to, I think, a Joe Rogan podcast where they were talking about a little bit about social media. Listening to this podcast, like Joe and that were basically saying that the only shit that you're going to put up on social media is either one of those annoying things that my grandmother puts up all the time where it's like, send to 100 friends and you will get good fortune, or if you don't, send to 99 people, Facebook will shut your account down, or those kind of spam things that we used to get in emails. But a lot of people are just putting their best self forward, and like you said, Kane, not everything's rosy every day, but on social media, everything's rosy every day. And you're, you got people that they might as well be running billion-dollar companies from their home, and like you were saying, the mumpreneur, and she's getting everything done, and it can really make people that are just having a shit day feel even shitter when you're on social media.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Now, you mentioned Joe Rogan there, Ryan, and Elon Musk was on Joe Rogan earlier this week, and he blew up a big doobie. So it is a Sunday night, Jess. So we do this via video, and then we capture the audio out of it. That's how we record this. But we have a drink. Always have a drink. It's a different drink of different descriptions for all of us. Tipping no one's gone down the Joe Rogan, Elon Musk sort of route at the moment, because I don't see billowing smoke behind any of you. What are we sipping on tonight, guys?
I'm sipping on a Asahi Sukai tonight. Fresh out of the freezer. This is a crisp and refreshing 3.5%. Yeah, percent. That's what I'm looking for. Beer, so it's not going to get me too drunk on a Sunday night. So one of these will do me nicely.
Lovely. Is it warm up in Brisbane today?
We had a great, 27 today. Beautiful and sunny. Had a nice little barbecue. So after a week of rain, so the good weather's back, which is great.
Hey, you Ryan, what are you drinking tonight?
I'm, as I said before, so we had a few wines after the movie in Crown, which was good, but I decided to taper back from more than two, just to not be too happy during the podcast. But I'm going the good stuff. I've got some Lark whiskey, so single malt whiskey from Lark Distillery down in Hobart there, which they did have some whiskey on the Joe Rogan podcast, but decided to avoid the joint today. What about you, mate?
Well, I'm on the old H2O. I've got a big week ahead of me. I'm kind of on a roadshow of a couple of talks this week, so I have to be very careful and responsible on a Sunday night. But this is how people would traditionally talk to each other and connect. You'd grab a beverage, you'd have a chat, it probably wasn't online back in the day, but you'd catch up at a bar and you'd have a chat and you'd kind of go through life. Well, social media doesn't replace things. It can enhance a lot of things, but it can detract from a lot of things. But I think a lot of these things just come down to how you use it, and there are good ways and bad ways of using all the social media platforms. And the important thing is just to show the level of respect you show to somebody if you're face to face with them.
Well said.
I think we could talk about social media for probably another episode or another 2 episodes. We might leave it there tonight and come back to this another time on another episode. But for now, that just about wraps it up for this week. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back next week for another episode, or should I say serving, of Daddy Eats Last. Now, how's that for a dad joke? Catch you next week.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.